Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second lecture of week 3 of the social entrepreneurship class for UWC alumni. And today with us, we have Kanchana Makan, who is also a graduate from UWC, specifically from Nordic College, from which she graduated in 2012. And she's going to talk to us about how to use social media. She is probably the greatest expert in that field that I know. Her incredible accomplishments on the social entrepreneurship field include, among others, founding of the Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative, which won her recognition from the Clinton Global Initiative University, as well as more recently following the devastating earthquake in Nepal. Kanchan was also able to raise more than $30,000 in 2 weeks to help with relief efforts. So, and that was accomplished specifically using social media. So, Kanchan, off to you. I'm really looking forward to hear more about everything that you have to say.
Thank you, Hannah. Firstly, I would like to welcome all of you to the online UWC Social Entrepreneurship course. I'm very excited to know that all of you are participants are UWC students and alumni, and all of you have started this course with a social enterprise idea, and the fact that by the end of the course you will be you'll be developing these ideas into actual social enterprises. So, firstly, I would like to start with my slides. Is it working?
Yep, it's working. We can see your slides.
Okay, wait. Yes. So, as Hannah said, I'm Kanchana Makan. Actually, I'm also an alumni of Red Cross Nordic United World College, and I'm currently doing my undergraduate at the University of Oklahoma. So I've co-founded Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative in 2013, right after I graduated from United World College, which currently empowers hundreds of rural villagers in Nepal through vocational training, micro-lending programs, and sustainable fish farming practices. So before starting on how I have personally used social media to amplify and advocate for the causes that I believe in, I would like to briefly talk about how I started my social venture, as I'm sure that all of you would want to know about it. So my journey as social entrepreneur began in the summer of 2012 when I conducted a school rebuilding project in Nepal as a part of my CAS activities through Red Cross Nordic United World College. And throughout the summer, I got an opportunity to explore and conduct research on one of the most rural villages of Western Nepal called Basiri, which face severe problems of poverty, of malnutrition, and unemployment. There were several findings that compelled me to actually act. For example, the inconsistent rainfall in the village and years of internal conflict that was going on in Basiri left the villagers with no employment opportunities. Unemployment had led to inequality and to dependency, and almost 70% of young people, especially young women, were financially handicapped and faced discrimination in the society. So as a young person, like having inculcated with UWC values, I knew that just being compassionate was not enough, and I really wanted to, I knew that I needed to act. So I wanted to turn the situation around through a sustainable social venture. I did not know what then, but I knew that I wanted to do something. So what I did was I immediately started to do a research study to understand the socioeconomic condition of the villagers. And after like more than 10-15 meetings with the villagers, finally the idea of sustainable fish farming initiative was conceived together with all the villagers that were present in the meeting. So our solution to the problems that the villagers expected was very simple, but still innovative. There were many, as we were conducting the research, we found that there were many unused public ponds in the village, and the idea was simple: to turn these unused public ponds into fish farms and to train local villagers, to empower them and to in order for them to conduct economic fish farming, which had the potential to generate high revenue out of it. So we continued our further research for a year, actually from 2012 to 2013, and that was when I actually graduated from UWC. And we've also found out the most important aspect of our idea. We found out that the price of fish in Nepal was actually 20 times higher than the price of rice in Nepal. So so in a way, we were able to present our study and our finding to people, saying that the switch from rice farming to fish farming had the potential to significantly increase revenue from the same area of land, making it very profitable. So, and this finding actually really helped us to get our movement forward through social media and through even while just explaining the idea to high-level experts of fish farming in Nepal and other organizations, our key finding helped us a lot to get our idea across. And and also what made our venture stand out as a social venture was our unique business model. And this is something I think we all should keep in mind while we are starting our own social ventures. We need to think about what our business model is going to look like. So we came with a sustainable business model through which it was agreed by all the villagers that 50% of the proceeds from the fisheries that we were going to establish in those public ponds would be invested in a school library or any other village-led development work. So in this way, the revenues, half of the revenue that we were making would go to the development work in the village, and 50% would go towards the direct salaries. So we were very passionate about our project, and while still in college, we were just freshmen in our respective schools, with a core team which consisted of actually 3 UWC alumni, as you can see in picture. Towards my left is Janice Amatya, who is a graduate UWC USA alumni, and Abhinav Kanal, who is a UWC Pearson alumni. And I had worked with both of them in Nepal in various projects. So we worked together to make our business plan. We forged partnerships with experts of fish farming in Nepal, and drafted our projects, worked with engineers to design the fish farms, and presented our findings in various social venture competitions. Because we, as young social entrepreneurs, it is very crucial that we have backing in forms of not only funding, but also mentorship, or just to get the exposure and to get the word out. So we were lucky enough to have gotten an opportunity to participate in Social Venture Challenge competition at Clinton Global Initiative University, which we won the competition, and we were awarded with the required funding and mentorship. And the same year, we were also recognized by President Clinton himself for our sustainable business model. So since conceiving the idea and throughout the implementation phase, I use social media very extensively as a platform to start the conversation about problems I was passionate to solve, like poverty, malnutrition, and unemployment in Nepal. So even when we were not clear about our idea, we just wanted to start the conversation in our Nepali community and international community on how young people can actually take initiative to solve some of these problems that exist in our society. And today in the conversation, I will briefly talk about how I use social media to help amplify this message. And also, I hope that you can get a basic idea to understand the importance of social media for social entrepreneurs and how we can effectively utilize it. So, yes, first of all, how has social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, YouTube, etc. They have really helped us as as a young social entrepreneur to get the word out in a very cheaper and faster way. So right now we have an online community of more than 10,000 active members combined in all these social platforms. And I believe that having social media, like using these platforms, is important for us, especially young entrepreneurs, is because when we are starting our venture, most of the times we do not have the financial backing, and social media is a platform to use without any cost, and it gives the highest rate of return on the time you invested in. And especially because these days we do not have to rely on costly campaigns and galas and events. We can just use some of these platforms to help raise awareness, to develop meaningful relationship with our online community, our network, our supporters and influencers. We can also get people to take action or campaigns on social media like Facebook and Twitter. For example, as Hannah mentioned earlier, I along with my team, we started a campaign called Rebuilding Nepal right after the earthquake that took place in Nepal this April. It was a very tragic event, but because of the platform that social media gave us, we were able to raise more than almost $30,000 through a crowdfunding website called Indiegogo, we were able to collect that in within 2 weeks. And the only platform that we used to collect that sum of amount was Facebook and Twitter. Those were the only two platforms we used, and we were able to collect money for rehabilitation and immediate relief in the village that we were conducting our fish farming project. And we have also used Facebook and Twitter to increase attendances for our events. For example, for our fundraising events, or be it when we were conducting our training events, we have used the Facebook events pages to get the word out and get people talking about it. Yes, as I mentioned, like we were able to raise $30,000 in 2 weeks through the online website. And not just fundraising, but I think as Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative, through our project, we have found a lot of connection and network to not only our supporters, but also press, celebrities, and 90% of our partnerships that we have today were made by the help of social media, because it is very important while using social media that you publish content that are very true, and contents that are from the ground. For example, we used WordPress blogging. While we were conducting projects, we would publish blog reports on what is happening on the ground, and these kinds of things actually help people get engaged and involved. And because of the fact that President Clinton had recognized our initiative, we were able to get the credibility that most of the young social entrepreneurs do not have. So really finding the network, the right network from social media is by using the social media platform, I think has helped us a lot. And storytelling. We also use social media to tell stories. We believe that telling stories from the ground about the cause that you are focusing on is very important, and um, it's very important to engage the supporters. And because of the stories that we have been able to tell from the village, because as I told you, Baseri village is one of the most isolated and rural communities in Nepal. So when we published what was actually going on the ground, the faces of poverty that was poverty and malnutrition that was taking place in the ground, then more people were engaged and wanted to help, and we used their help to actually conduct most of our events and training programs. So I would now like to give you some tips before starting your social media campaigns or social media platform for your venture that you want to start. So firstly, I would like to say pick a site or platform that suits your audience the most. For example, there are a lot of social media sites today, for example, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you need to know know your audience in order to find the right social media platform. For example, if your venture is about you are selling products online, then Pinterest would be much more helpful to you. And yeah, so you need to know your audience in order to pick a site or a platform, and have a vision before you jump into any social media campaigns. For example, using social media blindly will not yield meaningful progress, and success will not eventually come by simply doing it. So developing a well thought out vision is the first step towards an effective social media strategy. And we also need to make sure that we keep our mission at the heart of everything that we do. Before starting choosing a campaign or a social media venue, some of the questions that we can ask ourselves is, what is our target audience, or why do we want to reach, who do we want to reach, and if we are starting the social media to raise awareness or to get people to take action on campaigns or fundraise, etc. And engagement on social media is very important, because just because you have a platform and sharing a lot of information does not help. We need to actually tell the stories that are on the ground, because storytelling is the best way to get attention of people, and these stories emotionally connect people and they share them instantly. So the actions not only create awareness among a massive audience, but it ultimately helps to raise funds and help people in a cause. So, and one of the other ways we have used social storytelling is highlighting our donors, our volunteers, and because they share the content with their friends and spread it to their network. So you really want to get your word out and get your venture to a lot of people. And create a content marketing strategy, editorial calendar, because what we have experienced is being consistent, posting consistently in social media is very helpful, because you want to make a very continuous relationship and with your audience, and not just post when you have an event or when you need help. So creating an editorial calendar is very important. So I suggest you to work with your team to plan in advance what you want to post in social media and when, and you can plan which events you want to incorporate, who will take videos at the events, or when you have volunteer stories, program highlights, etc., so that you can get the conversation going throughout the year. And quickly, I would like to talk briefly about the lessons that we have learned. For example, while being active in a lot of social platforms to expand my social venture, we noticed that most of the social enterprises focus on promoting their organization instead of the cause. So we need to make sure that we are very focused on why we actually started our social enterprise, and not just about what our venture is about, but the actual cause. And because it is very necessary to make that connection with the audience. So if you focus more on why you are doing it and the cause, rather than just on the organization, that would be great. And the digital disconnect, what we faced on the ground was that we conducted our project in a very rural village where there's no electricity. So there was a digital disconnect. How do we could not connect the actual beneficiaries of the project who lived in the rural village and village through social media. So we had difficulty in connecting the people who are actually on the ground and the audience in social media. So we need to find strategies, so that is why we used storytelling, and why we acted as a voice of the people on the ground to help cut the digital disconnect. And the other things are competition versus collaboration. So as we all know that there are so many organizations at the moment, so many social ventures who are actually working on similar projects, similar initiatives like you are. So rather than being competitive, what we have realized that we need to collaborate more. We need to have partnership more, because if we can collaborate with people who are working on similar initiatives as we are. For example, we partnered with a lot of leading social enterprises in Nepal that were involved in fish farming, and through their partnerships we were even able to expand our reach more. So we should always be ready to collaborate. And another thing, having success in social media platform is not just the amount of likes you get or the amount of retweets that you get, but also is about your content. And it is we cannot necessarily interpret number of likes or retweets into our actual success. We need to see that the content that we are generating is actually being helpful and motivating people to act and actually bringing change. So those are the lessons that we learned. And lastly, while using social media, we need to make sure that it is supposed to be a dialogue, not a monologue. So we need to make sure that we are constantly engaging the community. We're constantly asking them their feedbacks and how they could help, and not just sharing information or posting information. So that's I hope that what I've shared has helped you a bit to understand how I personally use social media on my own social venture. And now I would love to get questions, any questions that you have.
All right, we thank you so much, Kanchan. This was very, very enlightening. I especially like how specific all the pro tips that you were giving us were. I in fact have learned quite a lot from your presentation. Mm-hmm. We do have quite a few questions, so let me just go right away to the most popular one. So this is from Yuri. What social media network do you prefer and why?
Through my social enterprise, I use Facebook and Twitter, because these two are the most used medias in Nepal. Since my project is based in Nepal, I found these two medias helpful, because as I told before, you really need to know who your audience is and what their preferences are. So according to their preference, I found that Facebook and Twitter was much more helpful in my experience. Yeah.
Great. Just to follow up on this before we leave the topic, because one of the things that you said, it's that the media, the social media that you use were very specific to your kind of enterprise. So what kind of initiatives do you think the other social media that you have shown logos of on your website could work better?
For example, so now my team recently, we are working on another social venture, which aims to build a vocational training center for intellectually disabled children in Nepal, and we train them to make handicraft products. So for that social venture, we are focusing on Pinterest and Instagram, because we want to get our products, the products that they will be making will be sold online. So for those kinds of social enterprise, using Pinterest or Instagram or YouTube, like where you can actually show your products, would be helpful. So it really depends on what kind of social enterprise you use and how you use it. Yeah.
Great. Also very exciting to know that you have another social venture that you're working on. I mean, how do you find the time?
It's very challenging, but I think if you're passionate about it, and like once you've started working on like establishing your own enterprises, then it just gets better. And yeah.
So it takes practice. That's
Yeah.
good.
And
Good
one more thing, what I've found very helpful in my journey while leading the social enterprises is try to find organizations that help young social entrepreneurs. For example, for me, for my team, we had because we won the Social Venture Challenge, we through the network of Clinton Global Initiative University, we got awarded as Resolution Fellows. And Resolution Project is an organization which helps young social entrepreneurs like all of us to find fundings, mentorship, and which helps us to get exposure in this in social media or anywhere else. So try to find these kinds of organizations that can help you, because they also help you get the exposure and expand your network. So I would really recommend that.
Great. Thank you. Now I have 3 questions, all asked by your good friend Robin. So how have you changed your social media usage over time? That's the first one. And maybe I will ask them one by one. So how has it changed over time?
When we first started our Facebook page, we did not even know if our idea people would actually take us seriously, because as young social entrepreneurs especially working in a country like Nepal, people do not trust you, and they do not trust you in a sense that they do not think as a young person you can run your own ventures. So first of all, we started off as basically just raising awareness about the issues about the village, because the village, the project site was a place where most of the people, even in Nepal, did not know about. So slowly we got many interests from a lot of audience, and in the initial stage, the mistakes that we made was we were just posting constantly, like we were posting constantly about our project, and that actually kind of irritated the audience, because posting constantly and the number of posts does not equal to how to the success that you can get. So what we learned over time was not just to post a lot of content, but to make the content to make people relate to the content, like telling the stories from the ground, updating them what is actually happening, like what the volunteers are doing and how the audience could actually help and engage. So yeah, over the time, from just posting content constantly, we shifted our strategy to actually making our content, relating it to our audience by storytelling.
Yes. I can definitely say that we've learned very much the same thing. And I also really appreciated your content about having editorial calendar. We literally also have an editorial calendar set up for the next 4 weeks. Everything is on autopilot on Facebook for most of the part, and it really helps also to keep sane of all the different social media channels. You already tackled question number 2 out of 3, which is how much is too much, and you also said what kind of things annoy audiences, so that was really great. But I think another question that's really interesting is, what is the best way to learn how to do this? Because Robin kind of suggests, there is learning by doing the only way you can do this, or is there anything that you can do to learn about how to be good at social media, especially if you're not like a crazy extrovert who loves talking to 4,000 people on Facebook?
I kind of agree with what Robin says. Learning is by doing. Initially, had we not started our Facebook page or Twitter page like immediately, we would not have been able to get the word out and get started with our social venture and with our social campaign. So really, like, while starting, we had a lot of doubts. This was the first time any of us were actually doing anything like this, like starting a social venture or project by ourselves, and we had a lot of doubts. But when we actually started using all these platforms, we realized that definitely, like, you can only learn by doing it, and you will only get better. You will know what your audience wants. Like, for example, as you might know, like, if you have a Facebook page, there's something called Facebook Insight, and you can see how your audience is interacting with the post that you're making. So these kinds of insights, like these kinds of, there are other platforms in the internet which helps you find like how your audience is engaging with your posts. So using these kinds of insights and helps us to monitor like how can we get better, and like, you know, how can we post in a better way and engage with the audience.
Yep, that's a great answer. There is another, lots of other questions actually. Hopefully we'll manage to get through all of them. Okay. One is not social media related, but I'm actually quite interested in the answer, so I will totally bias the choice here. So where are your various social enterprise activities registered, and how did you make your social enterprise legal? What's your structure? How did you do that? Because that's something that we're going to discuss actually next week. That's something that we started discussing already in the first week, and it's not something that's particularly easy. And to that, yes, I'd like to pile up another question. Is you are based in US for most of the duration of this project. How did you manage a whole initiative in a rural area of Nepal from US? So what kind of connections with the local community did you have? And I think that, you know, what you will say about the structure kind of goes together with it.
Yeah. So regarding our legal structure, while we, like, as I told you before, the ponds that we use to convert, like, established fish farms were public ponds. So it was pertinent that we collaborate with the village development committees. Those are the committees that were assigned by the government in village levels. So we did it in partnership with them, and we are now in the process of actually registering as an NGO in Nepal. So actually, like, having partnerships with the government really helps to get the recognition in a legal standpoint. And to the question about how I managed running an initiative while being in the US, is like, we are always on ground, mostly in summers and winters when we have vacations. But while we were conducting the project, one of our main target was to empower the local community themselves, so that they can actually, they do not need any of our help to continue and to make the venture sustainable. So for that, we made a village fish farming committee in the village that we started the fish farming. So we give them extensive training. We took them to various field visits where in other villages where fish farming was already being done, so that they made the connections themselves. So the fact that they have connections with all our partner organizations, and they've actually seen such initiative running in other villages by their own eyes, as you can, as people say, seeing is believing. They were confident that they could do it by themselves, and that really helped, because now they do not need any of the founders or the volunteers. They are running it by themselves because they have been given the tools needed and the trainings to conduct fish farming in the community.
So let me just make sure of one thing. So what you're saying is that you have done all of that fish farming social enterprise venture without actually setting up an NGO or a company or anything, and literally just relying on already existing structures in the local communities with which you were working.
Yes. It was in a collaboration with the Village Development Committee. So they also were one of our partners who helped to train the local farmers. And we did it through partnerships. For example, there Agriculture and Forestry University, the top leading experts in the fish farming community in Nepal, came to the village itself and established the fish farms. So yes, so because of all the partnerships that we had through non-governmental organizations and institutions that were registered in Nepal, we did it in collaboration with them. And finally, now when we are actually scaling our venture, we're confident that we can expand our venture in other villages of Nepal, as well as we've been thinking of partnering with organizations in India as well, who are doing similar projects. So now we are confident to actually register the organization and actually expand it in a bigger scale.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very interesting. So congrats on managing to get all of this done without any formalized structure. So coming back to the topic of social media, do you think that there is any bad side or negative factors from using social media? And this is a question from Andres.
The negative aspect, luckily, we've not experienced any negative feedbacks. For example, I have personally seen in various social media platforms when people are offensive and they post content that discourages your community or your network to continue your ventures. So luckily we've not experienced yet, but definitely I have personally seen a lot of examples where the content in the media have not been quite helpful. Yeah.
All right. Yes, you're lucky to not have met any internet trolls. Wonderful. That's also, I guess, an accomplishment of its own, or at least maybe they just got drowned in the volumes of positive feedback that you get all over for the great initiative, so you didn't even notice. Another interesting question from Trevor. I wonder how you're going to respond to this one. So, what do you think are the benefits of short form social media, so Twitter, Facebook posts, versus long form social media, blogging and newsletters?
I think as young social entrepreneurs, we need to be able to utilize both kinds of social media. For example, Twitter, like where only there's a limitation of characters, only 140 characters, I suppose. So we need to be able to combine the power of both of these platforms. For example, Twitter, we can use Twitter in Twitter, for example, if you're having an event, you're organizing a fundraiser, or you're organizing a training program. Twitter is a platform that we can use to give continuous news feeds, like to quote what people are saying, to just spread what is happening in live events. That is a great way we can use Twitter. Whereas Facebook is a platform we can actually share stories, share a lot of contents. So actually we just need to find a way where we can combine both of these social medias and utilize for the best. We should not just focus on Facebook or Twitter. Let's try to use all of these social medias in a way that can enhance what we're trying to do.
Great. So thanks so much for answering that question as well. I have another one, because earlier today we spent quite a bit of time discussing, how to build a website, what's the easiest way to do it, what kind of a time investment that takes. And part of the recommendation I gave based on the experiences that we've had with online UWC and with Learning Circle is to not invest too much time building website early on in the project that you're working on. And I actually just went to check your website for Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative, and it looks like it doesn't really have any content that you wouldn't have on your social media. So I just wanted to check how do you feel about website versus social media, and how did you go about setting up your WordPress, and how much effort did it take, and what were your experiences one versus the other?
Okay. As I've already mentioned, we all started right after school, so we did not have any previous experiences on actually starting anything, or starting a Facebook page or a website or a WordPress. So we are constantly trying to improvise, improvise, for example, in our website. It is still every day we are trying to improvise and learn new ways how we can communicate with our audience. And I think everyone should all the participants that are taking the UWC online course for social entrepreneurship, the main key is to start exploring these various avenues. Have a website, have social media accounts to get your message forward. And it does not need to be perfect right away, but the key point is to start exploring these avenues and getting your message across.
Great. So yeah, I guess it was a valuable experience to learn how to make a website at the very least, it seems. And WordPress website actually, it's quite easy to do them from template. So I'd say probably more effort than a social media account, but a little bit more fun and creativity involved. We have another question from Ricardo, because you seem to have done a lot of things on social media, but are there some things that you have not done yet that you would like to try doing in the future?
Definitely. There are a lot of things that I would like to try doing. For example, we are currently working on creating a documentary showing how we conducted the project, what the situation like now after the projects have been conducted in Nepal. So I believe that videos like pictures and videos shows is speaks louder than words or anything that we post. So definitely, I would like to try more of creating video contents on our social media so that people can see what is happening, what are the changes that are happening, especially after the fundraiser that we had, where we were able to collect a lot of money for relief efforts in Nepal. And now, since the money is actually being used for various kinds of relief efforts, like rebuilding school in the village and rebuilding various kinds of infrastructure that were demolished during the earthquake. So we're trying to make a video, a documentary to show the progress that is being made. And I think that would be something that I would love to do with any of the social ventures that I would pursue in future too.
So have you ever done a video, or are you just learning, and what are you doing to make one?
We recently
Because I think
made,
it's also and the reason I'm asking this question is because it's so interesting to hear from somebody who has not done this yet. Like, how do you approach this in real life? Like, how do you learn how to do this if you've never done this before?
Yes, actually, recently we competed in a competition in Los Angeles, hosted by Special Olympics. It was called the Pitch Pit contest, which was under the Social Impact Summit in Los Angeles. And as we were presenting our project that I mentioned about, which was establishing a vocational training center for intellectually disabled children and youth in Nepal. So that was the first time I actually had, I actually tried to make a video. We showcased like the condition of intellectually disabled children and youth in Nepal after the earthquake. And the video had like a lot of people could relate to the video, because me talking about what happened in Nepal after earthquake and them actually seeing the video made a very tremendous difference. I think I used an application that was that comes with MacBook. I don't even remember what it is. iVideo. Yes. So I was just playing with the application, and we ended up making an amazing video. And the video just got featured in the United Nations Youth Assembly that just happened 2-3 weeks ago. So they actually featured our video at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and I was really surprised that just by just by trying out how to do new things, like just making a video, like you can actually it can actually create an impact, and you learn by doing. Yeah.
Great. I would definitely love to see this video so that we can share it with
Yeah, sure. I can send you a link.
everyone in the course and also on our platform, because it sounds like a very interesting project in any case. So one more question from one of our viewers. You talked about the social media platforms that you would like to use. Are there any that you specifically dislike and would never recommend to anyone?
That's an interesting question. Actually, I have we do not use a lot of social media. Like the ones that we use currently are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Google Plus. And all of them have been really helpful in their own ways. And I cannot right now think about any of the social media that I do not recommend, but if like in future, definitely, like if we keep in contact and if I come across any social media platforms that I think is not recommendable enough, then maybe I can answer the question then.
Sounds good. So basically, everything works pretty well. I think, potentially another way to answer this question is maybe not do all of them at the same time,
Yes.
because that's a huge time drain. And I'm not sure how much time you spend managing all the different media accounts, but especially if you do both short form and long form, even writing memos about what happened this week in class, or who are our speakers. It seems like it's such a small task, but then across like a week or 2 weeks, all of these tasks pile up. And then with this, you have Twitter, you have your Facebook, you have your Instagram, have to post photos. So maybe just doing a bunch of them.
Like try to be very selective, know your audience, like know what they would prefer the best, and try to use, like I say, for the most, like 5 social media platforms, so that you don't have to
stretch yourself. Great question. More specific, how do you use Google Plus? I was wondering too, because that was one that you mentioned.
Google Plus, it gives a platform like how we are having a Hangout conference with so many people right at the same time. So because we have so much of, especially because I am at the studying here in the United States, and all of my team members are in Nepal. Most of my team members are in Nepal. So we use Google Plus as a way to communicate, to plan, to inform each other about what is going on. We also try to have training sessions in Google Plus, but because the village that we were working on is in a very isolated place, it could not happen. But for other social ventures that are based on areas where there is internet connection, you can use it to have Google Hangouts, have trainings conducted in the Google Plus, and various other activities like that. So in that way, it is very helpful.
Have you used Hangouts on air? Just, basically what we're using right now, because this could be a potential way, if you actually need to do a training and then have a record of it that you can share offline, because on YouTube you actually can bookmark and have offline access to resources these days.
That's a great like we just discovered like how Google Air works. So it's actually a great way to record like what you have discussed, so that a lot of people can get access to it. So in future we will definitely do that.
Yeah, it's not very intuitive. If you ever need hints, happy to help troubleshoot. All right, so I think we've answered all the questions. You've answered all the questions. I've asked all of the questions that came from the viewers who are watching us patiently. I really would like to thank you for this amazing presentation. It was great to finally meet you. I know we've been in touch around that, the main course that we did last fall where you were a mentor, but we never actually spoke, so it was great to actually speak to you. And hear about all of your great accomplishments, and hear about how you've managed with very little resource and apparently not a lot of experience to really build projects that make a difference in local communities. So thanks again for taking the time to chat to us, and I hope that you will share your video, your presentation, so that we can just pass these resources on to the people in the class, also to those who haven't seen this video live and who will view it afterwards.
Thank you so much. This was a great opportunity because, especially because as a UWC alumni and still a student, I'm sure like most of the students who are watching the sessions are also students. So more than a lecture, it was more of like a conversation. I'm also learning, and the best way of learning is doing. So I really hope that all of your social enterprise plans you actually do it, and good luck. And if you need any suggestions or help, I'm always there. You can find me on various social media platforms as we talked about. So I'll always be there. Keep in touch, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.